Today we're gonna make a budget sci-fi costume. The Hawaiian shirt guy. Let's go. Hey, how's it going? Anthony Farrow here, Create Sci-Fi, in my Hawaiian shirt with Hawaiian shirts. Today we're gonna make a budget sci-fi costume. Like I talk about all the time on this channel, I have a short film I want to make. I don't know when I'm going to be able to raise the funds or the crew to do it. So what I do to keep the momentum going is I start to make the costumes, the props. I mean, first, you know, I wrote it, but that was a while ago now. So now to stay in it, I'm making costumes. So what's interesting about this is, what I really wanted to share with you is it's the sci-fi like mechanic guy who wears the Hawaiian shirt. So this is like a trope in film. Now, sometimes people will say, we've seen that before, I want to try something new, whatever. Me, I feel a little differently about that. It's like I'm doing a short film, I have a lot to communicate in a little bit of time. I think traditionally, it's the Vietnam veteran who's a helicopter pilot. He had trouble in Vietnam, but he's like a very heroic savant. It communicates a lot of information very quickly, and that's very effective in a short film. So I want to take you through the journey on this of how I made it, but also all through like my shopping, how I shop for this stuff on a budget. Here's the t-shirt. Now this t-shirt is tied in with a unique logo that's sort of throughout the rest of the film. And I'm just going to take you through sort of how I source everything on a budget, how I create it inexpensively, and how we make it all come together and sort of tell a story with the choices of clothing, right? So first, let's go see how I hunt and gather everything, and then I'll show you how I put it together. All right, well, I always got to go to the Goodwill first. And then right off the bat, I find this Hawaiian shirt. And to be honest with you, this is where it all changed. I was like, oh, right. I hadn't thought of this. I was like the Hawaiian shirt guy, the Vietnam vet, the war hero. You even see this in Sci-Fi, like Harry Dean Stanton and Alien. And I'm like, okay, yes, this is what I'm doing. So this is something I don't think I've ever shared before. In every town, you have these like off-brand weird clothing stores. They're usually like in strip malls or, you know, they're around. And these are great places to find clothes that you're only going to use one day inexpensively. I always get pants and shirts here because you always get strange things. And then like this jacket was 20 bucks. I didn't use it, but I got these like bike motorcycle pants for 10 bucks. So I was like, yeah. And then Temu is like my new online Amazon dollar store. I just wanted a weird watch. These boots I got for another costume, but I wanted to show you where they were. And then I wanted like a fur collar jacket, and I found this police coat on eBay. I make some badges. These I've covered in another video. I'll link to it below. But for the shirt that I got at the thrift store, I wanted to make it look tied in like graphics. So instead of paying to print, because it was a basic graphic, I printed this out. This is like label paper that's just like a full sheet. And my thought was, okay, so I have, you know, just little touches, right? So I have this graphic on the badge. And then I thought, you know, maybe this is a company he used to work for. You know, you always have old hats or old uniform pieces that you wear throughout your life. You know, think about like the old plumber shirt that was fashionable or whatever. So I think this was a company he used to work for. So having the t-shirt, the little badge on the collar and on his nameplate, these are just little touches that add a lot of production value and are very easy. Now, in the past, I've paid to do one-off printings on shirts, but I kind of thought, you know what, I don't have any money at all for this project. So, you know, again, the actor will be on set for one day. I thought, you know what, let me just spray paint this on there. So I printed that out on label paper. And again, the design's not the intricate, right? So I could cut it out with a razor blade and a ruler. It's not like it was all swoops and, you know, like bends and curves. So here I'm just trying to set myself up for success. I'm taping off the rest of the shirt. Now, I've learned from stenciling props before, what I'm going to do now is make sure that the edges are down. And lots of times with stencils, you get bleed, right? So one way to take care of that is to do a clear coat, right? So I'm going to do a clear coat first, and then I'm going to hit it with the blue. And what happens by doing the clear coat is the bleed is clear, and then it's locked in, and then once you put on your color on the stencil, then it's all good. So now, of course, the budget pants, the $10 pants, are not the right color. So you got to work with what you got. So I just put these pants in bleach because I'm going to want to dye them, because they're like a very dark green. I'm going for like a blue. Shocker. So these, now they're orange now, but they're not dark, right? They're a light color now. So that I'll be able to dye. So while that's drying, so all these things I'm doing, moving from one thing to the other because things are drying. So this is dry now. The Clorox bleach, or just the bleach pants, are set aside. And now I'm going to take off this stencil. And I think it worked. I don't know if it worked yet, but feeling pretty good about it. And there, that first line is crisp. So I'm very happy. So this was, you know, the spray paint was on the shelf. I got the shirt at the Goodwill for maybe $2.99, right? So now I have, you know, it'd be one thing to have a shirt, but now the shirt with this graphic is a costume piece, right? So that actually came out better than I hoped for. Sometimes you get lucky like that. Like that looks like I had that printed. So victory. So here's everything that I have. I have my Hawaiian shirt, I have the pants, and I'm going to dye everything navy blue. And I've talked about this before. The reason I dye everything is I just want it to have a hue of the same color, right? It's all going to take the dye differently, but I just like the way it sort of has all these disparate pieces and then they're brought together. And then again, off camera, I printed the badges, because I've covered that before on the channel. I'll link to that. And then here's this jacket. I really like this jacket. It's a police jacket, but it's, you know, I wanted the fur collar. So it's like a winter jacket, and it's going to be way too hot. So because I want this jacket to be all messed up anyway, I'm going to cut the sleeves off. I get rid of anything that's a winter type lining. And then in the process of doing that, the actual lining starts to come apart, and I just think, well, that's fine, because I just want the shape of the jacket anyway. So now I'm just sort of dismantling it. The zipper doesn't work, but it does have snaps, and don't ever want the actor to have it zippered up anyway, so it'll be fine. So here I get my good scissors, right? These are the scissors that have, you know, they'd have my name on them. Don't touch my scissors. So now I'm just carefully cutting this out because I want to preserve the seam. So, I mean, you could just roughly cut it all off, but I don't want that. I do want it to be clean. So there, I'm just sort of taking my time, thinking about it. Yeah, looking good. All right, so now this is where I'm like on the inside, and it has like a little hole, and it's like I'm pulling that little hole, and it's like, yeah. And it's weird that I did that, because then there's some kind of sputz in there. Who knows what that is, you know? All that orange stuff is like some kind of dead and decaying foam. So I'm like, you know what? Off camera, you know, I just put a little dust mask on, and it's like, let's just vacuum this out in case, you know, it's asbestos or something. Kidding. Speaking of asbestos, so here I'm just, you know, anywhere where there's sort of like a frayed edge, I'm just using the lighter to just kind of clean that up. Be very careful of doing this. I would even say don't do this. Do as I say and as I do. So I put that aside. So now moving on to the badges. You've seen me do this before. This is one of my favorite little things. But now you're seeing me incorporating several things into one thing. Does that make sense? So with the graphite powder, You just rub it on, you know, you had to put a coat of black, a gloss black, and then now I just rub this on and you get sort of this metallic look. And also in these 3D printed plastic badges, they really look like something. And again, this is all just, you know, I have these spools of 3D printing PLA, so, you know, it's all free, but, you know, adding value. I just use the hairdryer there on the cool setting. And then here at Temu, again, like for a couple bucks, I just got some random patches. Figure, again, like I said, he's ex-military, I don't know, merchant marine or something. So just want to badge this up, kind of like in the back of my head, like a bomber jacket vibe, maybe. So here I'm just sort of laying everything out, seeing what works, what doesn't work. You don't know, you just kind of start putting things there and you start thinking about it. Typically I would sew this stuff, but I don't know, for this, like I said, it's only going to be on set probably for one day. I get the layout where I want it. I'm thinking, yeah, that'll work. So then I got the E6000. This stuff glues everything together. It's good. I like using this for fabric when I have to glue something onto fabric or a costume and I want to be confident that it's not going to come off during the shooting day. E6000 is this stuff. So thought about it and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to glue this stuff all on. Broken record, but I'm making a point. This needs to work for one day. And I am confident with the E6000 that it will work for one day. So here I'm just using a piece of gaff tape, white gaff tape, just so that I get the little badges in the same place on both sides of the collar. No measuring there. It was just sort of like, okay, this is the width of this piece of tape, so that's why I did it. And the reason I burned it and melted because obviously that's synthetic fur, is just so that it would give like a little better area, flatter area for my little badge, my little insignia to adhere to the collar. And here I'm just clamping it on. And the E6000 is definitely like an overnight kind of thing. So in the meantime, my watch came. This was my $3.18 watch that I just simply bought because it was a weird shape, just to add a little thing. So now, obviously it's brand new and it can't be brand new. So I'm gonna hit it with my nicotine spray paint that I love. And this is just like a water-based, super translucent, you know, imagine like, you ever, I don't know, this is probably outdated reference, but like somebody who smokes, their walls will have like the nicotine stain on it. And it's sort of that color. So here I'm using a little rotten stone, hitting it with the hairdryer. And I'm like, you know, if it stops working, that's fine. I'd like it to keep working, but I've already decided, well, you know, if it doesn't work after this, it's not the end of the world. There I just scratched off the text and just scratched the glass just so it was scratched, and it still lights up. So I was like, okay, I'll go further. So now I'm gonna sort of wrap it up with some powders. Figure this guy does not clean himself up, and I do have on a little dust mask off camera. And then now I'm like, oh, and it just still turns on. So I was like, oh, okay, good. I was definitely thinking that was not gonna. And then there it doesn't turn off, but I realized it wasn't supposed to. It's like a delayed sort of thing. They're just dusting it out. And yeah, it's just weird enough looking that we could call it futuristic. All right, so here's the next day, and I'm just sort of, all my glue is dried, and this E6000 stuff is not going anywhere. Yeah, and that looks like something. Again, it's all too shiny and popping, but we'll take care of that. But the core, that looks pretty good. It adds value. It's interesting. We're not going to really study any of that. So now I have the shirt and the Hawaiian shirt, and everything's right? It's still individual pieces, but it has that hue of the dye, right? So when I dye everything the same color, it's not like I'm making a monotone. I'm just sort of blending everything together. So here I'm just seeing how this works. You know, up until this point, it was in my head. And you're sort of like, you got your fingers crossed. I'm like, yeah, that works. Now I'm testing it with the jacket. And I'm thinking, this is awesome. And it's great because it wasn't what I originally thought of, but I had a starting point. And then, you know, if you're open, once you're sourcing stuff to the better idea or a different idea, because it's what you could find, it takes you in a really cool direction. So now we have to weather everything. So the vibe of this film is this guy's in this ship, and, you know, the vibe is that he's been in this ship way too long. Like, imagine somebody living out of their car or something like that, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just using, I like the 100 grit sandpaper for this, and you know, it's sort of common sense. Like, I do the collars, I do the edges of sleeves, I do like the bottom. Again, with the fire, I don't recommend this. I just do it, you know, I'll put like a hole in there or something. In here, like, for sure, the collar. On the pants, usually I do the knees, the pockets, and like the butt. And the pockets usually, like, you know, like, imagine like a hand's going in and out of the pocket, so you want to like tear that up. And I'll always try to put like almost a hole in it, right? And I think I'm doing that here with the flame, where it's like I just wait for it to start to burn it, and I'm like, okay, that's good. And then sometimes I go too far, and then that's usually when I back up. But you know, it is definitely, it's a weird thing. Like, it's not a specific sort of amount of weathering, but you just kind of get a feel for it. So, and again, this is combining other techniques. When I did the dystopian weapons, I thought, oh, you know, they would probably fix these with duct tape. So then that's in my toolbox now, right? So I was like, oh, if this guy's pocket ripped, he would just put a piece of duct tape on there. So duct tape in space. And then there, see, right, those are brand new patches. So I'm just tearing up some of the embroidery. Again, not going too far. And then here I'm doing the movie paints, again, the nicotine and the rotten stone. I got the respirator on, and the nicotine is just good for this. Again, I guess it would be emulating like just sweat stains and filth. So like with the sandpaper, the weathering, right, the neck is going to get crunchy. The underarms are definitely going to be, you know, it's like almost like a brown green. And then I just crumpled up in a ball, so that's still wet. So, you know, something will happen there. Same thing with the Hawaiian shirt. You got to get that neck. This guy definitely needs a shower. He's very crunchy, very stinky. And then here, I want to knock that duct tape down. So a little black, I'll actually go to the black spray paint. And then also too, with the badges, you know, there's some white thread. That pops way too much. So I'm going to knock that down with some spray paint. And then like black spray paint, just like, again, this is very, you gotta feel it out. Now I'm using some brown spray paint. You just gotta, you know, I wish I could give you a more specific sort of directions to this, but the most specific I can give you is you gotta do it enough times to just know what's right. And the trick always is to know when to stop, right? So now I'm getting close. Now I'm in that weird zone. And I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, okay, enough spraying. I think I'm going to do some splatter. And with the splatter, this is something I love to do with my film clothing. Like, I don't think I would do this if this was cosplay. But I've shown this before, and I'll point it out whenever I make this film. Like, when you're looking at it like that on the bench, and I'm putting like these huge drips, it looks a little much. But trust me, once it's on film, and you're looking at it through the glass of the lens, and it's part of a whole composition of a scene. It just breaks up the colors. You don't ever really notice it. And it's, I don't know, it's something I carry over from my theater days. In the theater, we used to do this a lot. And I like it. It works for me. You can skip this step, but I'm a fan. And then there, I just was like, let me go heavy there. Now I'm starting to get, I'm walking that fine edge now. It's like, okay, a little more, a little less. And with the black, I'm thinking, okay, it's grease. He's greasing up some engine parts, and he's got it all over his pants. And then I was like, all right, there's a heavy one. We'll let that drip. And again, I'm creeping into the danger zone. Creeping. And I'm like, I'm out. Call it. And there it is on the line drying, because I'm going to bring it over to our buddy Clint Carney, who's a friend of the channel. And I'm going to have him model this stuff for us. So let's take a look at what this looks like on a person, right? I think that's the best way to do it. So let's take a look at that now. And then there's our buddy Clint. And again, here we're staring right at it, right? So it's popping. We're looking at it. We know how the sausage was made. There's those boots that I resurrected from another costume. But I'm very happy with this. I had an idea. This is better than my original idea. Thank you, Clint. Yeah. The Hawaiian shirt guy. Oh, I just really enjoy, right, telling the story through the props and the costumes, the sets, as well as through the performances. So this is really important to me. And like I mentioned in the beginning, the reason that I do this is, you know, my main thrust on this channel is making short films and making them with little or no money. So what I do is to keep the momentum going. I don't have the budget right now. I don't have a crew. So what can I do? I wrote the script. Now I'm making the props and the costumes. So now I have all this stuff ready to go. And once everything else comes into place, be able to just move forward, right? And, you know, I just enjoy doing this stuff. So if you're like cosplay or just like going, like Halloween's coming up, or your own short film, that's how we do that inexpensively. Well, as always, I hope you found this video useful. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, matters. Just hit the bell, leave a comment, and check out the merch shop. We got the hats, got the shirts, buying that helps the channel. And remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi. Let's kick it to the avatar.
Hey, I'm just the avatar, but you might want to check out this video, maybe that video. For sure, subscribe if you haven't, and check out the merch. Buy some merch, that really helps. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the avatar.